Welcome back to the podcast series on the WebSphere application server platform. I am your host, Stephen Colello, and in this session I'm going to cover a topic that I just personally don't feel gets the attention that it's deserved, and that is investment protection. And to show you, even on our WebSphere application server features and benefits landing page, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see here I have highlighted for you the very topic of investment protection. To me, this is one of probably the most important areas of which I highlight, especially when I'm talking to lines of businesses executives when they're looking to choose a platform in which to run their business applications. Before I dive too deeply into this section, what I want to do is I want to take a look at the history of time of the WebSphere application server platform. It's a very mature, proven platform. It's been around since 1998. We celebrated our 10-year anniversary with the release of version 7 last year in September. And many of you listening onto this podcast series are either working on WebSphere or have worked on WebSphere. In the past, I myself started in the version 3.5 days. So it's been around for a very long time. Now what I'd like to show is from 1998 to 2004, we were releasing a lot of additions very quickly. Then from version 6 of 2004 to version 6.1 in June of 2006, we took 2 years to come out with the release, and then from version 6.1 to version 7, another 2 years. So what happened there? Why did we do this? Okay, the reason being is that operations and production folks came to us and they said, look IBM, they said, you're releasing too many versions too quickly. And we were only supporting those versions for 3 years with an additional 2 years of optional support. And companies were taking over a year to test each release, and by the time they were able to migrate all of their applications to a newer version, it was almost end of cycle. So they felt they were never getting the return on investment of all the testing that they were doing on each point release. So they said, IBM, you've got to slow it down. Now I know what a lot of developers and architects would say is, well, if you slow down the release cycles, then how are we going to get the latest standards, the latest programming APIs, the latest frameworks, etc., to help us build and innovate new business applications? Well, we solved that issue with a strategy that we call our feature pack strategy, where it gives you the ability to bring in new technology, new features, new programming APIs, new programming frameworks, etc., onto the current platform in which you're developing. And it's an extremely innovative strategy, and I'm going to cover this in more detail in our earlier access to standards and simplified development environment section. So companies now are able to have longer release cycles. They can get 5 years plus an additional 3 if they choose to, so they can get up to 8 years of support on a given platform. That is a major value proposition to many businesses. Furthermore, as we look into our next slide, companies are able to still run their J2EE 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 applications in version 7. We brought all of those legacy containers up with us all the way into version 7 of the application server. We actually had many companies still run applications out of service. We had a large corporation do a huge migration from version 3.5 into version 7. All they had to do was make some minor configuration changes and do some testing, and their old legacy applications still ran in version 7. These were applications written in the 2000, 2001 time period that never had to get changed. They never had to go in there and change all their old CMP EJBs. They never had to change any of their code. It was able to be ran inside of version 7. Furthermore, even if, let's say, you do have to make changes into some of those legacy applications that were written, if you're a developer, you don't need to go bring up an older version of WebSphere or an older development environment, etc. You could still run it in your version 7 WebSphere that you're going to be working on today. Now, I know a lot of developers would say, oh, well, that's going to make, bringing all of those older legacy containers up into the newest version, well, that's going to make the application server much bigger. And, historically, that has been true, but we have fixed that problem as well. We've been able to actually condense the size of it. I'm going to talk about that more in our improved and enhanced development environment. So this is just a major value proposition that businesses have the quality of assurance that they're going to be able to run their applications for a very long time. The old adage, if it isn't broken, then don't fix it, okay? If you look at where we stand today, applications written in 2000, it's now 2009, and they can get an additional 8 years. That's 17 years that these applications can run in production without having to have developers go in there and change any of the business logic just to get it migrated to the newest version. That's a major value proposition, and I encourage you to investigate this inside of other vendors, because I have not found another vendor that does this much effort into making sure that customers don't have migration pains for the long term. I thank you, and I look forward to our next session.